Sometimes life gets crazy and it's just too easy to focus on all the negativity in the world. Welcome to the audio antidote to that. On this show, we highlight the amazing and positive work being done in the world to remind ourselves that there is hope out there for the future. And along the way, we'll pick up some new perspectives and ideas so we can all work together to make the world a little bit better. Because we know that when creativity and community come together, we can create good. This is Creating Good with Matt Barnes. Let's do it. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Creating Good with Matt Barnes. I am Matt Barnes, and oh my gosh, our guest today, Robert Gould, is this was so much fun. Such a great guest, and he's got so much great stuff to share. But before we get into that, welcome to the show. The whole point of Creating Good is really to realize, what do we have ourselves, who we are, our talents, our gifts, our abilities, our connections, our resources, whatever it is, and how can we use those to be intentional about creating good in the world. And that's really the whole mission. And also, we use this podcast and our magazine and our meetups to hear the stories of people who are doing that, so that we can maybe see ideas, be inspired and go like, oh wait, they did that, I could do something like that. Or and sometimes it's the simple small things, and sometimes it's bigger things. Our guest today, Robert Gould, he's got RG Media Affiliates, that's his company, and also Big Tide. He's going to be talking about those. But man, what an inspiring story. This is a guy who really leaned into, who am I? What do I have to offer? And how can I walk through the doors that make sense for me and for my gifts, and to make the biggest impact and difference? And at 31 years old, he is making a huge impact and difference. Robert Gould, thanks for joining me today, man.
Listen, I'm here. I made it. Creating Good. I'm here, baby. Matt, thanks.
So glad you could join me. I'm so excited to hear more about you and what you're doing. Before we jump into all that, we always start with a segment called 3 Random Questions, where I ask you 3 random questions. Are you ready?
Let's go. I'm feeling kind of random today, so let's do it.
You got this. Okay, so I have a list of like 120 random questions, and then we randomly chose 3. Here they are.
Yes, let's go.
This one I haven't asked in a while, and you may not know the answer. I don't know, but what Harry Potter house are you in?
Oh, now why would you start there? I actually, I'm not a Harry Potter big fan, super fan, so don't strike me down. I can't even tell you. I don't know. So the answer is none. But if I had to belong, to some super cool place where you could, fly around in the air and, live creative life, I would do it. So yeah.
There you go. Do you have I'm on, it's funny that we have that question on there, because I'm not even a big Harry Potter fan, but what is there another franchise, or is there another fandom that you're a part of?
Oh man, I am such a oddball because I love documentaries. Like, I could lock myself away for hours and watch documentaries, and I love political thrillers. So House of Cards, Scandal, Swing, all of those political thrillers. Some would say we're living in them now, but yeah.
I yes, some might say that. Yes. I might be some. I had a theory about Scandal. My theory on Scandal was that the writers every season were trying to see how far they could push every single character to be horrible before you stopped liking any of them.
I like the way your brain works, Matt. I like the way your brain works.
Because by the 3rd season, I'm like, these are all terrible people. Like, every single one of them. There is nobody good. The only kind of good ones have been killed, and there's just nobody good left. I don't.
But those are the best shows, right? Like, we live that mystery and curiosity of who's going to be stirring the pot.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love shows that, create this character arc that makes you not just wonder what if, but you just start like living in it. Like, you waiting to see Olivia Pope on the street and see what Kerry Washington is doing. Like, I love all those pieces.
Nice. All right, second question. Oh, I guess we're on a movie theme today. What is your favorite animated movie?
Ooh. Okay, so this is a two-parter. I am a animated guy. I love great movies with hearts. So Inside Out is definitely one of
Oh,
my favorite. I think Disney just they like took adultism and
yes,
curiosity of adolescence and did such a great job with that. So I love Inside Out.
genius.
Is really cool. And then, I'm a 90s baby, so every 90s baby has got to be a Lion King head. So, I
Lion
love
King.
Lion King. Yeah, yeah.
Of course, of course.
Yes.
Oh man. And that I remember being in the theater and when, watching I don't know if you remember this. The trailer that they put out for that movie was
Yes.
just the opening sequence, like all the way through Circle of Life.
Yes.
And when they did that and at the end when that big bass note hits and it's just like
Man.
bam, Lion King, you're like, "Oh, I'm in. I'm in."
Epic, epic, man, epic. Yeah, I think all of us were like raising, our GI Joes and
Oh
King,
yeah.
everything like teddy bears and like dedicating it to the world. So yeah, love it.
For sure, for sure. Okay, last question. You could have lunch with anyone dead or alive. Who's it gonna be?
Ooh. So I've already given you a cheat code and told you I love documentaries. So you could imagine this is
True.
a hard question for me.
I know, right?
Mm. Ooh, wow. Well, I really want to be able to have well, okay, here's what I'll say. I want to be able to have lunch with Tony Robbins because I love that he has this superpower of being able to, no matter who's in the room, analyze people, see people where they're at, and then literally propel them in a matter of seconds to their future. So if I could have lunch with anybody and just say, hey, meet me in Aruba, meet me in Tennessee, wherever, Georgia, where I'm at, and say, hey, I want to have lunch with you because I want to pick your brain, he's the person for sure. I want to be able to do that. But a cheat code though, is I probably, if I could literally sit down though and really talk to somebody, would be Maya Angelou. I would love to
Yeah.
have just, a dinner with her to be able to like be in her presence and understand
Yeah.
the way her brain worked and her philosophy, because I believe, there are parts of me that are like a modern philosopher. So I would love to be able to
Yeah.
that time with her. But yeah, them two in a room together would be just crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, I
That's
would.
a weird energy mix there, but it'd be kind of cool.
Energy miss because Maya's coming with the heat. She's being direct, and Tony's gonna be direct, and he's
Ah,
gonna give us the business in a different way. But yeah, I would.
yes.
I know that
Yes.
sounds weird, but yeah, I would love that.
No, I think it's great. That's awesome.
Well,
All right.
you're
You have
listening in the stratosphere. Let's make it happen, man. Let's make it happen. Maybe me, you, and Matt can link up.
there you go. There you go. All right, you have survived 3 random questions. We will proceed to the interview.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So give me your origin story. Where'd you come from? And what's made you who you are? The short version.
Yeah, the short version, right? Yeah, short version. Well, I am I'm a single parent raised future builder. So I literally am from Atlanta, Georgia. I was raised in a single parent household by a phenomenal woman. Why I raised that as a badge of honor is because my mother was one of 12 children who had me later on in life. She had me literally in her late 40s. And, we had this unique bond because she didn't think she was going to have children. And so everything, every opportunity, every stage that I stand on, it means so much different at this space in life because I was literally a miracle baby. A baby that I didn't think would be born. She was one of 12. I literally have 104 first cousins. She had
Holy
out of
moly.
that average, I know Matt, right? Out of that average, her siblings had at minimum 4 kids, and the greatest had 7 out of her siblings. And so it was very unique to be brought into this world, into this environment, right? Where you're the only child really chosen for something different by birth, by God, this decision to be done. And so Was born child actor, was fortunate to travel and be on traveling Broadway stages, and was really building stages from the moment I can remember on earth. They said I used to take our dining room table in our kitchen in our living room, and I would make performance halls. I would make Radio City Music Hall. I would make, Met Stadium out of our living room. And so I've always had this calling, not just for being a great person in the world, but for doing good, being a part of
Yeah.
big impact, and have felt that just as a calling over my life. And so went from doing that as a child actor, then to attending Berklee College of Music. I was a full ride scholar, and being able to travel the world, be an ambassador for the college. But when I was there, Matt, I really fell in love with the business of entertainment and intellectual properties and marketing and what that really was. And that landed me with some incredible jobs with the Grammys, the Complex Group, and then BMI,
Wow.
which transitioned from me being an intern literally to being one of the youngest music executives hired ever in the history of the company, and serving in the Southeast region for their blues and R&B and incredible music repertoire. So I literally went from eating ramen noodles on my dorm room floor to a multi-billion-dollar corporation, which was
Wow.
just crazy overnight. And so that trajectory put me on this space of then understanding, am I going to be in these huge companies? Is that going to be the trajectory of my life? Or am I going to keep building stages for my own? And so that entrepreneurship bug, I'm a third generation entrepreneur. I just could not escape it. And I can remember coming to my boss and saying, I was up for a promotion actually, and going to my boss and saying, I feel like there's so much more I could be doing programmatically. And she agreed. And so, with my first kind of base of capital and clients from BMI, I started RG Media Affiliates, and we do full service programming. And now, what I was doing for those entities, I do on my own, programming for thousands across the country in the education, municipal, public, and private sector. And it's been great. And so I have a full media company, RG Media Affiliates. I have a development company where we're building incredible edifices and physical infrastructure for programming all across the country. And most recently, a project called The Legacy, which is a 65-acre multi-use development where we have housing, 400 housing dwellings, an entertainment studio, and innovation center. So that all started from me building stages literally in my living room as a kid. Now I stand as one of the youngest developers in the history of my region that I'm building this development in. So it's a crazy arc.
Dang.
Yeah.
I I don't even know where to. There's so many places to follow up on that. That's amazing. I mean, what an incredible journey that you've been on.
Thank you.
Uh, Especially in the grand scheme of it all. Thinking from your mom to now, and just how you have how you found your way, and really, it sounds like very much stayed true to who am I, what am I about, and how do I use that to make an impact.
Yes, and we are writing our legacy every day. And the development
Yeah.
I talked to you about is called The Legacy. And I had no
Yeah.
idea that my whole life, every step from, my mom being a single parent to believing in me, to me, beating the odds of what statistics may be, for the world and where I come from, to literally, me becoming a youngest exec, to me becoming the youngest developer, all these first, I've been writing my legacy. And so with the programming models that we do and the thousands of students that we touch, I'm always key on saying, you never know what room you're going to be in. You never know who you're going to be. You never know what position you're going to have to step in. So you always have to be in the position of owning who you are in the moment, because you never know what
Yes.
tomorrow's going to bring, so.
Wow. So what you're talking, you use the word legacy a lot.
Yeah.
You've named this development legacy.
Mhm.
What do you want your legacy to be? Like, what is, as you're building all of this, what do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, I want my legacy to be that Robert Gould is and was an access unlocker, someone who unlocked access to the most vulnerable people in the world, who thought that it was not possible because they didn't have the connections, that they didn't have, the Rolodex, that they didn't come from the right family structure or economical structure. But they had the belief enough to make it happen. And I want my life, my legacy to be someone who opened up doors for those who thought the doors not just were not possible, but that were unimaginable. I
Yeah.
really want that to happen, and believe that's what my legacy is being. That's what it will be and is. No.
Do you feel like that was you? Do you feel like you
Oh,
didn't
for sure.
know?
Well, I come from a take no environment, right?
Yeah.
You know, from legacy of first people. I know I'm walking out first because of what my legacy was in first. My mom, I said I'm a third generation entrepreneur. My mom was an entrepreneur, and if you sat and talked with her, became the first female director of economic development for the state of Ohio in the history of Ohio. Her mom, who was literally left with 12 kids, my grandfather, a war veteran, we're talking about, in the 50s and the 60s, who had barely a high school diploma, became the first woman to own a 100-bed facility for mental health in the state of Ohio. And then before that, her dad was an inventor of his time. And I'm actually his namesake, Matt. And, I'm so
Wow.
fascinated by my great grandfather, Robert Majors, who literally, had very little education, but became an inventor in coal mining and was sent to West Virginia, in the hills of West Virginia in the early 20s, was sent and commissioned to come up with the technology that would help coal miners in the hills of West Virginia come up with efficiency better for coal mining. And so that spirit of ingenuity, thinking, my great grandfather who was mining for the futures of generations in West Virginia would breed ground for me to now mine, for the futures of thousands of people and students and, physical infrastructure through our developments, what we're doing. It pinches me every day I get up. I think I'm so blessed to be able to be living and not just my ancestors' dream, but the reality of what they built, you know
Yeah.
so you can just never underestimate it, and we all have a point of it. I'm sure you think about that as a father.
Sure.
What is not just your legacy, but what will your children's legacy be. And so much of what our future becomes is remnants of who we are today, and so that's why
For
we
sure.
can't undermine it. And I don't have to meet your kids to know that some deposit of them will have to be good in the world because of what you've dedicated your life to. So
Absolutely. I mean, I hope so, but I also, as you're talking about that, like that is the main reason I started creating good
yeah,
was looking at the world and going like, I want my kids to, well, one, I want to make the world better for my kids as much as possible, but also, I want them to see that you can create good, that you can, and if I can leave this thing, that will show them that they can be a part of,
yeah,
um, and show that we all have resources, we all have talents, skills, abilities, whatever it is that we can use to contribute to making the world better. You can take or you can give, and you can contribute, and
that part, that part,
you gotta
part.
but even listening to you, like you could easily think back on the legacy of your mom, your grandparents, your great grandparents, and be intimidated by that and feel that
Yes,
pressure and be like, oh my gosh, I can't live up to that.
yes,
Or you can see that as a legacy that you get the privilege of carrying on
I do.
and how do I want to build on that?
Well, I do. And it's so interesting. I'm just getting back from a family reunion, and my family is seeing all the incredible things I'm doing, and we're picking up so much steam. And maybe we'll
Yeah.
talk about Big Tide a little bit later on and what we're doing with
Yeah.
thousands of youth that we're creating. And my family is so proud of it. But I do have this sense of the best burden. I call it a burden because you should feel the weight. You should feel
For sure.
heaviness, but it is the best heaviness. And I believe
Yeah.
that I was really chosen. I would say as a man of faith that I was really anointed and gifted with this opportunity to bear the weight because so many of my cousins in my big family, you can't carry the weight of thousands of legacies, literally when you have 12 siblings or you have, 8 siblings or you have other people, that around you. The weight and the call is different. The dedication is different. I have to be obsessed about greatness. I have to be obsessed about, extraordinary action and extraordinary cognizant effort to do good work. I have to be obsessive about that. And how can we push the limits, to serve people and do good. And that
For
carries,
sure.
a weight and a mandate that not everybody's able to manage and to, be able to sustain. So I do feel a weight about that, but I do feel that when you are intentional about doing good, good just comes back to you. I've seen it so many
Yes.
times in my life. And I tell people, also as an author, like that was the bridge gap for me transitioning from being an executive at BMI. I was faced with this opportunity. It's like all these great things have come to me. I'm 23. I was literally eating ramen noodles, a few years before on my dorm room floor, cold pizza, living the college dream,
Yeah.
College of Music, deciding and thinking that my life trajectory was going to be, if I had to wait tables to be an artist, whatever I had to do, work it, whatever fast food joint I was going to do it. And not that those things are bad, but that was the trajectory of what I thought was good to do the grind. But I went from that to working at this huge, high powered environment because life knew what I would need now in this space. And I needed that time. I needed that structure. I needed to know about intellectual properties of multi-billion dollar portfolios and what that looked like because of the management and business skills that I would need now. And so in that pivot time of me transitioning from being that exec to going into full-time entrepreneurship, I wrote a book about the internships that led me there, the intern guru. And what I found out in my research about internships is that it teaches us so much, not just about the people that we want to be, but also the people that we don't want to be. And I just made a cognitive decision, I don't want to be the guy that's living in regret. I don't want to be the guy
Yes.
that is saying, what if? I want to be the guy
Yeah.
who's living in purpose. And you have to be willing to really, doing good and living the good life and being impactful in the earth, it is going to cause you to be uncomfortable, and you have to be okay with that. And that's a process that I walk people through in the book. But yeah, I just think that building a good legacy, building what you believe is for you and the impact you're supposed to do, it is a process. You have to be willing to go on it and own it. And there are going to be days that you want to give up, but the good work, the good seeds that you put out, they have to return to you, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think the key to that is just, I mean, I think the key to it is really figuring out who am I, what do I have, and how do I become better at that? How do I learn more about that and equip myself to be more effective in being the person that I was created to be?
Yeah, it's so important. At Big Tide, this mission that we started just 3.5 years ago, and in 3.5 years, we went from 20 people in a room to over 7,000. We're in 12 counties that we service, and it's all about building these next generation leaders in STEM and in STEAM, in the wave of the future in technology. And one of the biggest pillars that we talk about, because people always ask me, how did you scale so fast? How did you move so quickly? We don't have any major corporate underwriting, just small businesses that have believed in the engine that could that, has grown overnight. And one of the main
Yeah.
things I tell people is our cutting edge advantages, we are building people for careers, not just, for a job. And
Yeah.
what is so important in that is self identity. How you
Yeah.
communicate is so important. And so every student that goes through our program, it is crucial that they have presentation skills. You cannot go
Mhm.
through a program without being able to identify who are you, what do you want, and where are you going. And we have 4 years with them. And so the goal is, in the next 4 years, you could start as early as possible. And I commend those who start in elementary and middle school. Those things are important. But I'm passionate about high school because these are the people who are on the lifeline. Like either they're
Yeah.
going to graduate and become sustainable citizens, or they're going to be left behind, and not everybody's
Yeah.
going to go to college. So for those who don't, even more, you got to get on it. You got to be on fire about who you are, what do you want to do, and that's a process, and that's self-discovery. And so many times in business we talk about pitching product, but we don't talk
Yeah.
about pitching who we are. And so even as
Yeah.
adults, we have to practice that, Matt. We have to be, religious about getting up every day. And, I walk through some of those steps in my book about, how do you literally wake up each morning, look at yourself in the mirror, and talk about what is the power that you possess today? Because daily, if you can possess those powers, not, who are you going to be 15 years from now? Who are you going to be in 3 months? Today, what am I most
Yeah.
powerful at? And how am I going to use that to end some great result? You know?
That's so simple and yet profound because I think so many people, including me, will think of today, oh, today's rough, but I'm working for that future thing. And then when I get to that future thing, then it's gonna be, instead of going like, no, I've got what it takes for today to eat today, and I'm
Yes.
today's gonna be it. Let's go. I every morning with my kids, I send them out the door to school or whatever, and every day I'm like, you guys choose. It's could be the best day ever. Like today, like you gotta choose to make it the best day ever. It's what you want it to be.
Yes, it is. It is what you make of it. Every day
Yeah.
we have breath in our bodies. It's a decision, and one
Yeah.
decision can change your life. I never thought that I would, be multi hyphenated. I never thought I would be able to stand and say, I'm a speaker, I'm an author, I'm a real estate developer, I'm a CEO, I'm a philanthropist with my foundation and the work that we're doing. I didn't think I would have these dashes. And I believe that my atmosphere and environment has always spoke to the hats that I wear now. So for others who may find it challenging, my environment prepared me for where I'm standing now. And it's going to continue to propel me because I'm only 31 and I
Yeah.
have such a further long journey to go, but I understand that everything that has gone before me has prepared me for where I am now. And so those days where I feel like, wow, this call is heavy. It feels like it's so weighted because I still have 31-year-old problems. I'm still figuring out life. I'm still figuring out, marriage and kids and, what will happen
Yeah.
in life and, all those things. For me in defining legacy daily, when I get into those days, I remind myself that these things are gifts and
Yeah.
the good that I'm putting out in the world. Can I only imagine how good God is the language I would use is going to fulfill those gifts of good that I'm putting out in the world. And
For
so
sure.
you got to do it. And you only got today. You got to make it count.
Yeah. Because you might only have today.
This is true. This is very
You
true.
know?
You know, Man, that's the truth about life, brother. It's kind of, it's like one of those things that make you feel, wow, a little weighted. You have that hard gulp, that peanut butter
Yeah.
off of the roof of the mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But that is the beauty and the gift of life. It's
Yeah.
not about who you are when you ultimately take that last rest in life. It's about
Yeah.
what are you doing every day to be intentional about this gift that you've been given? And as
Yes.
ultra media, high powered environment that we live in now for clickbait and the excitement of, grind and hustle, I think personally there's also this resurgence of prioritizing rest, prioritizing balance,
Yes.
prioritizing you being mentally, capable of handling those things that you say you want, because the phone will go off at some point. I tell that to students all the time. I'm like, who are you, dude, when the phone goes off? If you can't
Right.
Instagram, if you can't TikTok, if you can't, who are you? Because that
Yeah.
is the most crucial, So
Totally, totally. Yeah, I think, we had a big swing of the pendulum toward the kind of grind culture for a while there, and it's still there, but I also think people are starting to hopefully recognize the balance in that, and that a balanced, you look at the totality of your life and knowing that if I'm choosing a career or careers or all the things, that I want to do because I'm passionate about them and love them, I've got to take care of myself to be able to do that. And I've got to have that, you know, I have to, I want to enjoy life too. Like, it's got to be fun, like, not that it's always easy or anything, but man, when you're doing what you love and you're taking the time to also like make sure that you're in a good place and healthy and mentally and all that stuff, you get to have way more fun. Like, it's funny, like I tell people, oh, I've got four businesses and five kids and this and that and and people are like, oh man, oh, I'll pray for you. You're this, whatever. And I'm like, no, it's awesome. Like, yes, it can be exhausting for sure. I need a vacation, definitely, but I'm taking the vacation, and I'm doing stuff that that I love and that I can be proud of and that my kids can be proud of, and um I make sure I'm home to have dinner with them and, spend time with that, so it's like that balance to me is what lets me feel like, man, this is success, you
right.
know, maybe not the exact success that somebody else, but then like it all starts working together, and it's pretty crazy how that just sort of happens.
Well, Matt, the reality, I love what you just said, is we define success and we have to do more
Yeah.
teaching of that, particularly in our modern culture that we live in now.
Mhm.
If the next generation, if Gen Z always puts success on material things, on the output of what they do for material things, then they
Mhm.
are going to have no identity and they will literally be extinct. They're not going to exist,
Yeah.
because the reality is, even as forward thinking as I am with things like AI and technology, the way it moves,
Yeah.
you will always have to have some interpersonable skills to survive. Like, no matter how far AI takes you, it is a point where, AI is not going to land you the job. It's not going to sustain you in, the career long term, or the trade
Yeah.
skills. So we've got to do more people building, less,
Mhm.
system building. Because I just personally believe that systems are important, but if we build the people will define the systems. They'll be able to sustain the systems,
Yep.
and they'll be able to live full lives. So,
Well, it was that point in growing my companies when I realized my greatest resource is not the equipment that I have. It's not the building that I have.
come on,
It's the people.
come on.
It's
Oh,
100%. It's the people. And that's what I need to be
let's go.
most spending my time investing in. And when I do that, things just, it's just a whole different thing. Like, things just take off.
Yeah, it does. It does. Um, I have a mentor still, who's
Mhm.
incredible. And he shared with me, he's been uber successful, New York Times best-selling author. He's great.
Yeah.
And he shared something with me because he came in the infancy of me building this big tie program. And he was talking to me and he challenges me in the best way, because he said, Robert, this is great. Thousands of people, this is great. But he said, what is attributed to the success? And of course, I'm thinking as, big mentor, little mentee, thinking, well, it's what we've done. We've done the planning and we've done the time and we've done the analytics, and we're doing something that other people aren't doing. And he said, I'm going to ask you again, what is the secret to the success? What is the, Oedipus of all this? And I said, well, thinking a little harder, it's because we put culture in, and it's ultra, energy on 1,000. And he said, I'm going to ask you again. And I said, I really don't. I said, I don't know. I started shaking. I'm like, I don't know. You look to impress your mentors. And I'm like,
Of course.
oh, no. And he's like, he said, you are the sauce. He said, there are a lot of people who are doing career development, but no one can do it like you. There are a lot of people who are doing workforce development, but no one can do it like you. And he said, why is that important for you to understand? Because when you understand it's about you, you'll be more dedicated to building more Roberts and less systems. He said, you'll be more dedicated to building, more opportunities for others. When you understand that you are the centralization of it, the people are at the core of everything that you do. And when you lead with people, you will build a legacy. You'll build a nation. You'll build generations. You will never be without, because the focus is on people. And the reality is, in what I get to do professionally and philanthropically for just good, is all people centered. And the moment that we lose that touch, the moment that it's not about how do we take this first generation college goer, or this person who is literally maybe a C or D student, but they have the promise of becoming the greatest CEO if somebody gave them an opportunity, is the moment that we lose the essence of what this is about. So, I believe in people building. People building is so crucial to where we're at, and answers the question to so many needs that we have in our society, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But what you said is interesting, and important,
yeah,
because you started with you,
right.
and I don't know about you. I was raised in the church. I was raised in a family that was all about be humble, like be humble. You're not a big deal, that kind of thing. And meaning that, I think, in a good way,
Good one.
but so taking that on
Mm-hmm.
of like, oh, and confusing confidence with arrogance. You know what I mean? And having to learn, for me, learning
Yes.
even just recently, I mean, still learning, still having to integrate and be okay with, I'm I can be confident in who I am and in the gifts and things that I can do. And that is not arrogance. Arrogance is another, another step there. But
Yes.
but when I'm confident in me, and know who I am, and I'm curious about who I am and what I'm capable of, and I learn more, and I become more confident in that then passes on to others.
Yes.
And when I lead people, they see that, and then they can do the same thing for themselves. And so it is people building, like you're saying, but it has to start with you. It's hypocritical to say, like, oh, I'm not a big deal, but you are, and you should be okay with it. But like, I'm not doing it myself. And I did that for a very long time because I downplayed myself to be the
Mm.
humble guy.
So good.
And the reality is, no, I like that confidence it's contagious, if you
Whew.
and you build that's how you build a team.
It is so important, and I love this talk. You're talking my language, brother. I love this because I am obsessed about what makes people successful. I'm not, obsessed about success, because success
Yeah.
is what I define, but I am obsessed about the process of success, and
Yes.
its arc, and what it takes for some people. I mean, I know some people, I used to get frustrated because my best friend growing up in school, and I always was the only chocolate drop in the sea. I went to a small Lutheran school. All my cousins made fun of me so bad because I went to a small Lutheran school. Shout out to all my Lutheran school kids that grew up in Peachtree City, Georgia, from literally elementary school up until high school. And I was the first Black student that they had in the school. And, when I graduated, I think it was five, African American Black families, and some other identifying families that were there. And it was so crazy because, I was always popular, not always because I think I was the jock or the one, but literally just by who I was. It's just like, Robert, we see him, we know who he is.
Yeah.
And so, what was interesting is in the environment that I grew up in, confidence was just breeded naturally because I had no choice. I had to be aware of who I was. I had to,
Yeah.
no matter being in that environment, my mother wanted me to have the best education possible. And also I had to go to non-traditional school because I was a child actor, etc. So I couldn't go to public school. But my mom was so adamant about me understanding and putting me in those environments where I was the only, because she understood what I would say prophetically, that there was going to be a space and a call on my life that was going to be so much bigger. I needed to be comfortable with understanding what it means to have wealth. I needed to be comfortable with what it understands to be, the only person in the room. And I look back at my life now and I see so many times, whether it's a negotiation table, whether it's a real estate acquisition table, whether it's, a room of peers and celebration or awards, where I am not just the only African American, but I am the youngest, or I am the first in the room to have these opportunities. And I can't be swallowed up. I have to own the
Yeah.
room. I have to own who I am and be okay with not knowing everything. And
Yep.
if that was the biggest message or billboard I could give for this generation or following, or even the ones who've gone before us, because so many people need this lesson, is you have to not be afraid to own the ability to not know. No,
Yeah.
own, the unknown. Own the unknown. Own, not
Yes.
being able to have all the answers, because that actually is a superpower. It's a strength. The things that you don't
100%.
know are ways that, are opportunities for you to build a team, build
Yep.
infrastructure that you hadn't done. So, I love that idea set that you brought out, about being humble and still having confidence. And I would say I agree with that because I grew up in a religious household and religious family, and those are the principles of Jesus Christ, humbly living. But I think that also strategically, my family and my mom put me in a position where I could not live always by those rules. I needed to be self-assured of who I am and who I was, and my differences
Right.
set me apart, for something so much bigger and greater, that I
For
own.
sure.
Oh yeah.
And that is exactly the thing that I wrestle with finding the balance of with my kids, because I don't want them, a healthy humility is great, but also like own who you are, live in that, be confident in that, and go out and use that as your superpower to affect the world, to do what you got to do,
Yeah.
and to bring others with you,
Yeah.
And I look at my 5 kids. I'm like, oh, you guys can change the world
Yeah.
if you want to.
And
You
they
guys can
cool. Yeah.
100% change the world if you want to. I didn't ever feel that
Yeah.
until later in life, so I want to give them that now.
And
um
change, and Matt, if you don't mind me saying this too, my friend, I feel like change the world has to be more of a grounded statement with our kids.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you felt that way, but generations before, I feel like, for our predecessors, saying change the world felt so far away because change the
Mm,
world meant do something beyond your means. But the reality,
yes.
change the world means owning the space that you're in now to produce change. And so
Yes.
using that big language, I think, is important, especially in adolescence with this next generation. Like, no, you can't
Yes.
change the world. How are you going to change the world? You're going to shake the room today. You're going to shake the room in your
Yep.
classroom. You're going to shake the room in your youth group. You're going to shake the room, with people, or if
Yep.
you're in a grocery store and see that you can help the person before you pay for their groceries, that's changing the world.
Love
So,
it.
yeah.
So good.
Yeah,
All
man.
right. We have gone longer than normal, but this has been so good.
Wow.
And I feel like I could talk to you for hours.
Yeah.
The question I always end with,
Do you want a sixth child? Can I just
you want to come on out? Let's go to Maui. Come on, man.
Come on, man.
You can come on my family vacation. Um, the question I always end with is, what in your job brings you the most joy?
Mm. What in my job brings me the most joy? What brings me the most joy in my job is seeing fulfillment of dreams, seeing the fulfillment of people who thought that it wasn't possible and then seeing it possible, seeing, the evolution of the impossible. That brings me the most joy. No one would think that, in a space like Savannah, Georgia, which I am not from, but am living literally ancestors of people's dreams post slavery and civil war, where there still has not been minority developers. And now I'm the youngest and the first African American to develop 65 acres of land and build 400 homes and create, countless of hundreds of jobs. I am brought the most joy about the fulfillment of the impossibilities of that. When we talk about things like Big Tide, where students whose grandparents are making $6 an hour and the median, average income is, crazy to think about 13th percentile poverty. I am making literally the impossible possible and seeing those dreams possible for people. So that brings me the most joy, seeing that happen for people.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's so cool. That's so cool. Well, Robert, thank you so much. Where can people find out more about the things that you're doing?
Thank you so much. People can follow me online directly with this crazy, dope journey that I'm on and catapulting in leading at the RG Experience on all platforms, Robert Gould on all platforms, and then the Big Tide Summit, which is a philanthropic career development opportunity that is at zero cost. All you have to do is be a registered student and be going to public school or private school with the educational institution. And we would love to have you April 24th and 25th of 2026. You can visit bigtide.org. And because this is 100% underwritten just by the small dreams of people who have big dreams for the future, we always are welcoming sponsorship and corporate underwriting and hope that, it will move the needle. If you want to be a part of building the future, you can also visit bigtide.org and email us at bigtidesummit@gmail.com to be a part of the mission of what we're doing.
I love it.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yes.
So cool. Well, thank you so much, Robert. This has been great.
My family calls me Rob. It's okay. I'm your new son, so you have to call me Rob.
I get real comfortable with people real quick,
I'm saying son, but I'm more like his brother. I'm his younger brother, the cool uncle.
Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with that. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt.
Creating Good with Matt Barnes is recorded at Rogue Collective in beautiful Newport Beach, California. It's hosted and executive produced by me, Matt Barnes. Post-production is by our amazing friends over at Fame, the B2B podcast agency. Writing is by Matt Barnes and Taylor Bolanos from Rogue Creatives. Creative direction and design is overseen by Corey Hill of Rogue Creatives. Theme music is composed and performed by Jared Atherton of Chapters. Huge thanks to our amazing guests for joining us this episode, and thank you to all of you incredible listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, and I would imagine you did if you're still listening, so don't forget to help us spread some good by giving us a good review. Preferably like 5 stars, lots of really nice words. It's very helpful. Also, tell your friends and subscribe so we can come straight into your potholes each and every time we have a new episode. Take the Creating Good pledge on our website at creatinggood.co. We'll catch you next time. This has been a Rogue Creatives production.